welcome. My name is Penny Rosema, and you're listening to the Cookware Manufacturers Association podcast. One of CMA's goals is to keep our retail buyers informed. And in this interview, we're having a conversation with Hugh Rushing, former Executive Vice President of CMA. Hugh served with the CMA for over 24 years. Now, you can find more information about the Cookware Manufacturers Association and links to a wealth of information for retail buyers at our website, cookware.org. You'll look for the retailer's link at the top of the page, and you can click away and find information from there. But let's have our interview with Hugh. Welcome, Hugh. It's such a pleasure to connect with you and to tap into your wealth of knowledge and experience with the association and the cookware bakeware industry.
Well, thank you very much, Penny. I'm happy to be with you today.
Oh, we love it. We're going to start with some background information on the buyer learning tools that we have on the CMA website. And I understand that the history of this is that the board started an initiative several years ago to offer retail buyers some comprehensive series of educational information, and the buyer learning tools is one example from that initiative. Talk to us a little bit about how the board recognized the need for this kind of a tool.
Well, we constantly were hearing from our CMA members that retail buyers, as well as those who work the retail floors, were really not knowledgeable regarding the features and the benefits of modern cookware and bakeware. Retailers, CMA members believed, needed some aid and assistance in training those buyers and their salespeople. Retailers who take time to properly train their staffs are more successful than those that subscribe to the sort of sink or swim method, I guess.
Unit 1 of the buyer learning tools covers cooking methods. So for a novice who may be listening to this interview, and we talk about induction and conduction cooking, it can be confusing. Would you speak to the difference between those two types of cooking methods and perhaps briefly what the advantages or disadvantages are?
Sure. Well, conduction is the transfer of energy from the heat source through the cooking pan or the pot and then into the food inside it. And in traditional cooking, you use gas, natural gas or LP, or electric resistance elements. That in turn heats the cookware, and it turns the heat through the cookware to the food. The biggest advantage of conductive cooking is you can really use any kind of cookware, any materials. The disadvantage, as much as 40% of the energy is lost, it doesn't actually go into cooking the food. Anybody that has slaved over a hot stovetop with 3 or 4 pots on it will understand that. The kitchen heats up. It feels like the middle of the summer, even if it's cold weather outside. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, induction, the pan itself is heated by a magnetic field, which is induced into the pan by the induction cooking unit. The difference is the induction unit itself doesn't get hot. It's very efficient. It's a controllable energy source. Many people say cooking via induction is like cooking with electricity, but with the advantage that you have with gas cooking is that if you turn it down, it goes down immediately. Advantage, it's very highly energy efficient. You have less chance of a burn from the energy source. The only real disadvantage, you have to choose an induction-friendly cookware, and that means cookware which has magnetic properties, and that means straight aluminum cookware or ceramic cookware can't be used on an induction cooktop.
Great explanation. And I just want to remind our listeners, we're looking and talking to Unit 1 of the Buyer Learning Tools, which is on the cookware.org website. And this particular section covers cooking methods. And you get there by going to cookware.org. You click on the retailer link, and then there's a section called Buyer Learning Tools. And this is one of the units, actually Unit 1 of that. So if your head's kind of swimming and you're like, oh, I want to hear that again, you can get that information right off the website. Now, Unit 2 of the Buyer Learning Tools speaks to materials in the cookware and bakeware category. Why is this unit important to the retail buyer knowledge, Hugh? If you had words of advice for a retail buyer, why would you tell them to pay careful attention to this unit?
The materials used in cookware really predict quite well how it will perform and the cooking situations where the cook might use it. For instance, copper and aluminum cookware transfer heat energy quite quickly, whereas cast iron is slower to heat up. Stainless steel, while it looks nice and shiny, usually needs a boost to make it efficient for cooking due to the low conductivity of straight stainless steel. So usually stainless steel pans, particularly fry pans and saucepans, usually have on their bottom a conductive disc which is attached to it, or are made of materials that incorporate conductive materials between layers of stainless. Ceramic materials are really insulators. They're very slow to heat up. However, they do spread the heat nicely, perfect for slow cooking, for braising or roasting, really any kind of food that can be cooked in the oven. So again, the materials really predict how the cookware will perform, and you can think of the cooking situations that you might use it.
It's interesting when you're talking about that. I think about some of the calls or just conversations I have with people when they find out I work for the Cookware Manufacturers Association. And in the industry, one of the top questions is, so what's the best cookware? And I probably got this response from you. It's like asking, what's the best car to drive? How are you using it? What's it for? How much do you want to spend? I'm sure you recall getting those same kind of questions on, and material plays such an important role in that, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. I used to tell people, I said that you would not buy a Maserati if you had 6 children and had carpool this week. And I said, but the same token, if you essentially heat stuff up on the top of the stove all the time, why would you buy a bunch of baking materials to go in your kitchen? It just everybody has a different way of cooking, a different cuisine they enjoy cooking, a different way of preparing foods. And so cookware really, that's one of the great things. There's such a wide variety of types and kinds of materials. Really, there's a suitable cookware for every cook, from the rank amateur all the way up to the true gourmand.
And I think that's what's so important about for the retail buyers to understand, that when someone comes into their store and is asking about I want to buy a cookware set, their first question should start with, how are you using it? What's it for? What's your cooking style? And I'm not sure that that always is the top of mind as for a new retail buyer.
Absolutely.
So a little commercial break here. We're talking with Hugh Rushing. He's a former executive vice president of CMA. We are talking about the buyer learning tools that are found on cookware.org. Now, this is part of the retail buyers link, but anybody listening to this that is a consumer, or even CMA members that have new team of salespeople on their teams, this is an excellent section to go to for a good baseline understanding of what's going on with cookware. The buyer learning tools include information on cooking methods, materials, manufacturing methods. We've got coatings and finishes information in there, anything from handles and attachments, and there's a number of other topics. So each of these learning tools on the website are self-contained, so you can just look at a section at a time. You can download the PDF. It's really a very helpful tool. And just reminding listeners that CMA has been an independent and authoritative source for information on cookware and bakeware, serving both the manufacturers, marketers, retailers, and consumers. And we go all the way back to 1922. So you'll find more information about all the stuff we're talking about today and our contact information and these resources at cookware.org. Let's talk about Unit 3, Hugh, that talks about non-stick finishes. And there's often, I think, some confusion on the differences between non-stick, coatings and I wondered if you'd help us understand the difference, say, between PTFE and the ceramic nonstick.
Sure. Well, traditional nonstick uses as its active ingredient a compound which is, well, the shorthand name for it is PTFE, and that's a fluorinated compound as the active ingredient. Very highly repellent of water. Think about a freshly waxed car and how the water beats on it when it rains. Um, on the other hand, ceramic nonstick is a completely different chemistry. It uses a very hard and endurable substrate and has silicone compounds as the water repellent properties. Now, while ceramic nonsticks can withstand higher temperatures than traditional nonsticks without breaking down, they do tend to have a shorter lifespan of easily repelling foods and water. Ceramic nonsticks can feature amazing colors and color combinations, while traditional nonsticks are typically darker colored to better resist staining from foods such as tomatoes, for instance.
I gotcha. So again, it kind of goes back to what the cook's preferences are.
I think so. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been a great conversation, Hugh. We're kind of running out of time and we haven't covered all the buyer learning tools. We'd like to connect with you again, maybe cover some more of these in a future conversations if you're open to it.
Sure.
So my name is Penny Rosema and we're recording for the Cookware Manufacturers Association. If you'd like more information, you can find us online. We talked about the buyer learning tools. The web address is cookware.org and you look for the retailer link. We need your feedback if you're listening to this interview. Did you find it helpful? We'd like to continue to keep you informed, but let us know what are some interesting topics or questions that you have for future interviews. You can leave a message for me at prosema@cookware.org. You'll find this link on the posting here as you're viewing the podcast interview. And we just appreciate, Hugh, you taking the time for the conversation today.
Happy to have done it.
It's always great to talk to you. And for our listeners, thank you for listening and enjoy the day.